It takes a moment.
Hello, welcome everyone to this meeting of the State LGBTQ Commission. I'm Marcia Botzer, she and her co-chair, and we will begin our meeting today with a roll call of our commissioners.
Okay. Co-chair Botzer.
Present.
Co-chair Vienna.
Excused.
Vice Chair Kelly Baroga.
Present.
Secretary Figueroa.
Present.
Commissioner Archer.
Excused.
Commissioner Best.
Here.
Commissioner Erickson.
Here.
Commissioner Frederickson Goldson.
Present. And I also wanted to thank everyone for the opportunity to have worked with all of you. I will be leaving the commission. As some of you know, I'm a faculty person at the University of Washington, and I was recently provided a sabbatical, so I will be out of area. So again, I really appreciate the opportunity and all of that we have accomplished, especially around the housing and so many others. And I know I'll be continuing to work probably in other capacities with the commission, as well as with many of you. So thank you.
Thank you so much for your service to our commission.
Yes, thank you very much. And continuing, I have Commissioner Hillmeyer. Here. Commissioner Landers.
Present.
Commissioner Maroon.
Present.
Commissioner Molina.
Just joined. So
Commissioner Ross.
Present.
Commissioner Sawyer. Commissioner Sojourner.
Here.
That is everyone.
Thank you so much, and welcome everyone. We are officially called to order, and we have checked in, and now let us have our land acknowledgement, please.
good morning, everyone. And before I move on to the land acknowledgement, I'm Manny Santiago, use any pronouns. I have the honor of serving the people of Washington as the director of this commission. And I just want to take a point of privilege for a second to thank Commissioner Karen Frederickson Goldson. You know, I've worked with Karen since I moved to Washington again from Wisconsin, and it's been a real joy to work with you, Karen. It's been real joy to learn from you and with you, and to participate on so many panels and conferences and things. And I look forward to even more collaboration. And thank you so much for all the passion that you have brought to the commission for the issues that you're passionate about. And we promise that we will continue looking into those issues, especially when it comes to housing and senior LGBTQ folk and other important issues that you've been working on. So thank you so much for all the work that you have done. And thank you so much for all the contributions that you have offered the LGBTQ community in Washington State.
Thank you, Annie, and thank you for your leadership and for everyone here on this commission. I think it's so important that all of this important work continue moving forward. So thank you. It's been my pleasure.
Thanks. Folk, we always take time to acknowledge the lands where we work and live and the lands that we occupy. And Washington is home to many indigenous communities, both native to Washington as well as other indigenous communities that have moved, or indigenous folk that have moved to the area. I myself, even though I do have indigenous heritage, I do not claim indigenous identity. So I read our land acknowledgement with the respect to the indigenous communities that we serve and work with, and whose lands we occupy. And this is our land acknowledgement as a state agency. The Washington State LGBTQ Commission recognizes that we live and work in stolen lands. These lands water, mountains, skies, and everything within them have been inhabited since time immemorial by the descendants of the 29 federally recognized tribes, as well as the many not recognized tribal communities in the state of Washington. The members of the commission come from occupied lands of the Chehalis, Colville, Colletts, Ho, Jamestown, Clallam, Kalispell, Lower Elwha, Clallam, Lumi, Maka, Muckleshoot, Nisqually, Nooksack, Port Gamble, Clallam, Puyallup, Quillette, Quinault, Samish, Sauk, Shoalwater, Skokomish, Snoqualmie, Spokane, Squaxin Island, Stillaguamish, Suquamish, Swinomish, Tulalip, Upper Skagit, Umatilla, Walla Walla, Palouse, Yakima, Duwamish, Wanapum, and Chinook, among others. We recognize the history of colonization, genocide, subjugation, and enslavement experienced by indigenous peoples in these lands and throughout the continent. It is our commitment as a state agency to recognize tribal sovereignty, to work alongside tribal partners for the well-being of our communities, to celebrate the achievements of the many indigenous communities among us, and to dismantle the ongoing legacy of settled colonialism, as well as the exclusion and erasure of indigenous peoples that continues today, and may be so.
Thank you. Thank you. We always have some housekeeping to announce. So staff, if you would, please.
Thank you. It is important to remember chat will be used to troubleshoot and collect questions and comments. Commissioners will not be responding to chat. Strict adherence to the schedule to stay on time, please. Members of the public, please mute and turn off your camera. There will be no disruptive behavior. Guidelines for healthy and safe interaction is to assume positive intent on the part of commissioners, moderators, participants, and staff. Do not use transphobic, homo, lesbo, biphobic language, misogynist, xenophobic, racist, anti-Black, ableist, ageist, or foul language during your interaction. And name calling or insults will not be allowed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm looking at the clock and I see we have moved very quickly. We actually have a few more minutes in this section. Perhaps if anyone has a New Year's special announcement, if any commissioner has such a thing, this might be a moment to say so. Just hold the floor here for a moment if anyone does. Okay, I'm gonna hope everyone is heading so far into a good new year, and it's certainly been a ride so far, has it not? All right, let us turn then to the minutes of our last meeting in November. Look at those, and are there any corrections to those minutes?
Co-Chair Butzer, just real quick, just to ask that the minutes reflect, not the minutes, the minutes for today reflect that Commissioner Sawyer just joined as well. Before we moved into the minutes, yeah. I just noticed that he joined.
Very good, thanks. All right, hearing no additions or corrections to the minutes, is there a motion then to approve the minutes of our November meeting?
I move to approve the minutes of the November meeting. Commissioner Maroon.
Thank you, Commissioner Maroon. Is there a
second.
second? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sawyer. Thank you. All right, let us then turn to the vote. Roll call, please. And then, of course, we're voting aye to accept or nay to not accept.
Okay, Commissioner Best,
Aye.
Commissioner Erickson,
Aye.
Commissioner Frederickson Goldson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hillmeyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Landers,
Aye.
Commissioner Maroon,
Aye.
Commissioner Molina,
Aye.
Commissioner Ross,
Aye.
Commissioner Sawyer,
Aye.
Secretary Figueroa,
Aye.
Vice Chair Archer. Oh, excuse me. Co-Chair Botzer.
Aye. All right.
Okay.
Motion passes. Thank you. At this stage in our meeting, we take a look at our commission or committees rather, and receive reports from those committees that have them. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll start with the executive.
Pardon me,
Yes.
Mr. Botzer. I wasn't called
Oh, for goodness sakes.
for,
Oh, for goodness sakes. Well,
I,
it just shows that we have to keep each other on our toes.
I apologize for that. That was my mistake. I had my names mixed up on the list.
Thank you. All right. Do you have any comment? We're going to vote. No?
Well,
All right.
hold on. Tracy, do we still need to confirm? Because I don't know if KB officially voted for the approval of the minutes yet.
Right. Do you have a vote for approval or not approval of the minutes?
yes, I.
Approved.
And Tracy, I don't know if you were talking, but you were muted.
I was trying, but yeah, I was having trouble with the mute button. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Let's start again and then with the executive director's report, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair Botzer. So folk, I wanted to share some highlights. I have to say that during the last couple of months, I was gone for some time, and I took some time off in November for Thanksgiving, and then some time off in December for the winter holidays. So thank you so much for empowering the staff to take time off as well and to rest. Tracy also took some time off. And I want to highlight that because it's not all about work and work and work. That's important, but it's also important to take care of ourselves and to break and do things that are outside of work. So yeah, I want to encourage everybody to take time off as well. With that said, we did have a very busy couple of months, mostly because we were getting ready for legislative session, which is happening right now, as many of you know. Excuse me. So we were working on several pieces of legislation where legislators ask us for feedback or the community asks for feedback. So that's part of what we do, but we also engage in some other things, and I wanted to highlight a couple of those things. So the first thing that I want to highlight is the celebration and reception, virtual celebration and reception that we had. Thank you so much to the coordinating team that helped bring in ideas on how to do that virtual celebration. And thank you so much for the work that Tracy put in putting together the program for the day. Excuse me. It was good to reconnect with the community and to reconnect as celebrating some of the things that the commission has accomplished so far. I think that there were about 40 people who were able to come to the celebration, including some legislators or their representatives. So it was good to hear from them. The other thing that excuse me. So I hope that next year we can be together in person for a celebration with the community and have more than one, perhaps, 3, one on this side of the state, one in the center of the state, another one on the eastern side. That'll be really cool. So yeah, so hopefully we can do something like that in the near future. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is excuse me, the work with the legislature. So 2 things about this. One is that I had the opportunity to attend the statewide gathering with LGBTQ leaders and community organizations that is usually hosted by the GSBA, and we were able to engage with some of our legislators to hear what they're working on, as well as to offer some updates on the things that we have been working on as a commission, and to hear from other organizations from the community that are doing things on behalf of the LGBTQ community. So that was a really good conversation. And then as a follow-up to that, I did have a meeting with Senator Marco Elias, who is the chair of or the convener of the LGBTQ caucus in the legislature, and that was with the intention of aligning, priorities and making sure that that we knew how to engage with each other and what things were important to keep an eye on. So that was really, really positive and really a really great way of starting the legislative session, to have the opportunity to to make sure that everybody was on the same page. And I do believe that we're both the LGBTQ caucus and the commission are on a good, we're in sync. We know what we want, and we know what things can pass this legislative session and what things we have to pay attention to. So that was really good, the conversation. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is some of the work that probably you don't get to see because it's not too public, but we have been working with different agencies, and the one that I want to celebrate right now that didn't make it to the report is that we have been working with the Department of Veteran Affairs to help them put together a training tool for caretakers, both family caretakers who are caring for military veterans in their homes, and professional caretakers in homes and care facilities throughout the state. And we were working with them because it was important for the Department of Veteran Affairs that part of the content of that curriculum addressed the particular issues of LGBTQ veterans. And I was just so happy yesterday when I saw the final materials, because the department really took a holistic and intersectional approach. And when you see the list of collaborators, I knew that I was collaborating with them because obviously I was in direct contact with them. But when I saw how intentional they were in including voices of all identities that veterans represent, and it was really, really beautiful to see. So I wanted to share that with you because that's the type of thing that perhaps you don't get to see right out there. So that was absolutely wonderful to be able to work with the Department of Veteran Affairs and to see the final product that they're going to be rolling out soon to train their caretakers. So that was really cool. And then a couple of other things that we have been working on. The other one that is really, really cool that I'm really happy about is working with the Department of the Military in Washington through their emergency management system, which is hosted by the Department of the Military, where they are looking at having input on how preparedness and emergency systems address the specific needs of LGBTQ communities throughout Washington. So we have been working with them in creating some opportunities for people to engage. And right now, they are not going yet to the community, but they're taking feedback from the agencies that provide direct services. And we had a really great first conversation with the department and the emergency management system, as well as with other agencies that bring the voice of specific communities. And my hope is that within the next 3 to 4 months, the department is going to start creating the spaces for the community at large, so we can let people know about how to engage those conversations. And speaking on how to engage, you probably saw that we started putting together a newsletter, an electronic newsletter that is going to, this is slightly different than the newsletter that the committee on outreach committee has put together in the past. This is kind of a bulletin that is going to go out. We plan to have this bulletin distributed every Monday, even if it's a holiday. We have the way of making it automatic. And the idea is that we can share, what is happening that week. So the first one was a little bit long just because it was the first one, but moving forward is basically highlighting some opportunities for the community at large to engage in making sure that the voice of LGBTQ Washingtonians are present in different, policymaking opportunities and rulemaking opportunities and things like that. So we're really excited about that. There's a whole bunch of other things that you can read on my report, but those were the ones that I wanted to highlight today and make sure that you knew about. If there's any questions or something that didn't make it to the report that that we did, that would be also welcomed. So yeah. Oh, and I want to recognize that Representative Macri, who is one of our legislative advisors, joined the meeting. So hopefully we can hear from her after me, but yeah.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. And incidentally, welcome, Representative Macri. And we understand, of course, that you could be very busy at this moment. Are you able to stay with us, or would we can shift your check-in, if you will, to now, if you have only a moment?
Thank you. I'm sort of attending to a couple other things, but I think I can stay with the meeting until just before 11.
Oh, excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us. All right, let's see. We are reporting on committees at this point, and Executive Committee is up next. I'll let you know what we were up to at Executive. We met regularly, as we've been able to do. We reviewed to the best of our ability the upcoming legislative session and began discussion there. At that point, we prepared a detailed survey, as you know, of what members were thinking about their committees, and everyone has received that, and thank you all for looking at that, filling it out, getting it back to help us have our discussion later in the meeting today. So that was a good bit of work, and took a number of check-ins and meetings and so on. We also were thrilled to be able to participate in the reception that our executive director mentioned. It was a lot of fun, and there were a lot of folks who were very excited to see our commission there and learn a little bit more about us. All right, the next committee up for report will be Economic, Business, and Development Committee, please.
Thank you. The Economic Development Committee likewise has been meeting regularly, and then at our meeting this past Wednesday, we were able to pass our 2022 work plan, which includes 3 of the priorities as identified by the Commission late last year. I think first and foremost, the achieving state recognition of LGBTQ people and supplier diversity. That's work that this committee has been working on for quite some time now, that we thought that was a good charge for us. And then depending on how other committees and future committees want to work on these issues, we saw elements that were relevant for our work in both identifying and examining the economic discrimination and resource disparities facing LGBTQ Washingtonians, and preparing all workplaces for non-binary employees as population and understandings of gender evolve. So we are happy to work with other committees as those issues are allocated, for work. And then additionally, our committee identified examination of the economic realities for LGBTQ people living in rural spaces as a priority for our work going forward as well. And on that committee, so far this year, I am joined by Lou Hill from Spokane County and Marika Bartow from Thurston County. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, next up, Vulnerable Committees or Communities Committee.
Hi, so we got to have one more meeting where we began looking at next steps around the governor's proviso for the creation of a task force to study the impacts of decriminalization of sex work. And so at this point, we're preparing for our next meeting and inviting individuals and community organizations that are working around issues, addressing issues of sex work or working with populations impacted by sex work criminalization. And so that meeting will be next Wednesday, where we will be able to help inform the community a little bit more about the background leading up to this, what the task force might look like, and different ways that we might be able to connect or collaborate with different individuals and groups that are working around these issues. And that's pretty much all we got to. It's gonna, I will say that if any of you have people you know that would be good to join this meeting, I would be happy to pass along an invitation to them and get the Zoom meeting link to people. This is not necessarily intended to be like a huge town hall meeting, but we do want anyone who's interested to be welcome.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Hillmeyer. And yes, if anyone's interested, please get a hold. All right, let's see. Health and Wellness Committee, please. And if there's no report, we often have that situation, just let us know.
No report
Thank
that
you.
I know of.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Stephen. Great.
Yeah, so hi. I know that we've been having some challenges and we're really trying to work out a really good meeting time, but I have been working on a couple of things. I think the last thing we talked about that I mentioned was really around some studies around COVID-19, particularly on African-American and the LGBTQ community. And so I've had a couple of meetings, one with the African-American Health Commission or Health Board, and we're talking through some things, and with the new formed Tubman Center for Health, we're slated to have a meeting with them to also talk about some of this research, and I think it's something we might want to get connected with and involved, at least to promote. So
that's awesome. You rock. I don't mind adding that Wednesday, earlier this week, I provided testimony for Senate Bill 5551, which was introduced by Senator Randall, I think, with sign-ons from Senator Elias and Senator Wilson, one of our advisors to this commission, to restrict the healthcare authority from holding back 7 HIV medications for with prior authorization requirements for people living with HIV/AIDS in Washington State who are on Medicaid. So, you know, hopefully that bill continues to pass, and I believe it's on the list that the commission is tracking for this session. So,
thank you, commissioners, for those updates. Health and Wellness Committee, please.
That was the Health and Wellness.
Sorry. You know what? I just enjoyed it so much, I wanted to hear it again. All right, let's move on and go to the Children's, Youth, and Family Committee.
I also don't know that committee has a report, but I'm happy to be corrected.
No, I think you are correct in that one. All right, let's move on. BIPOC Committee, please.
Sorry, Commissioner Butler, I do have an update that relates to children, youth, and families. Yes, the committee hasn't been able to find the time to meet. However, there are 2 things that we're working on that have to do with children, youth, and families. One is that both Tracy and I have collaborated with the CDYF outreach program to help them create outreach materials that are relevant to LGBTQ families in the state, not only to recruit more foster care families that are LGBTQ identified, but also to let people know about the need for safe foster families for LGBTQ youth and children who are in foster care system. So that's one thing that we have been working on with the CDYF department. And also we have been working with the department as a whole as they navigate some challenges on how to provide culturally relevant services to LGBTQ youth, especially in light on some of the federal regulations that prevent the state foster care agencies or government agencies that oversee foster care, that prevent them from banning some families that are not safe for LGBTQ children. So, you know, there's the complexity of the state rules and regulations that want to affirm LGBTQ youth and place them in safe homes, while also having to comply with federal laws and regulations that prevent local jurisdictions from banning anti-LGBTQ families from being places where people can be placed. So it's a challenge. We're working with DCYF, and it's actually, from my perspective, very rewarding to be able to work on providing more safe spaces for LGBTQ children in Washington. So even though the committee hasn't been able to gather to meet, we have been working with issues that affect children, youth, and families in the state.
Thank you so much for that update. BIPOC committee.
No update from the committee. We also have been struggling to find a good time to meet. But I did take a good amount of time to fill out our survey, which had some really thoughtful questions. So I look forward to that conversation.
Thank you. Yes, it should be a good one. All right, let's see. Communications and Outreach Committee, please.
This is Lars Erickson. I don't believe we have an update.
All right, thank you very much. I see Commissioner Hillmeyer, you have another comment there?
Yeah, so I forgot that there's one other update I wanted to share. Some of you may know that a trans woman of color was murdered in Centralia recently, Ricky Otomuro. And this week I joined the Lavender Rights Project and the Black Trans Task Force to give support to the family and assist in a few different ways. It appears that pieces of the case are being mishandled by the Centralia police, and the family believes that that is due to anti-trans bias. And so I know that this is a local issue, not a state issue, but I'm just being present to see if there are opportunities I have to smooth things over and support people in our community who are really hurting.
Thank you, Commissioner, for alerting us to that. Very sad news indeed. All right.
Can I just add a comment? And thank you for working on that, Toby. I deeply appreciate that. It might be a local issue in the moment, but it is definitely a statewide concern. So anything that you glean out of this, I'm sure all of us would like to know more information and get what you're learning. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose I just got involved in it this week, so maybe next month's meeting I'll have more to report back.
Thank you both, commissioners. We do have time now for our legislative advisors report, and we have our legislator with us, our advisor, Representative Macri. Do you have something for us?
Thank you so much, Marcia, and great to see everyone. It's been a while since I've been able to attend one of these meetings, so it's great just to listen in. We're in the throes of session. It's been pretty hectic, and I'm really grateful to everyone who's been advocating on the policies, which are moving quite quickly through the committees in this short session. So I know you reviewed a number of bills. I did want to say the LGBTQ caucus has already had a couple of meetings this session. We have a bill tracker. Manny is invited and tracking these bills along with the LGBTQ caucus members. So that has been good. I wanted to make sure that a couple of lower profile bills were on your radar as well. And I'm sorry if you've already talked about some of these. Sean Peterson dropped a bill to empower courts to waive name change fees for low-income folks. Maybe you talked about that one, House Bill 1961. Mia Gregerson has a bill that would essentially prohibit what are often called love letters in real estate transactions. So these can create fair housing concerns and allow for loopholes in discrimination protection. It's when a buyer submits a letter to a seller, or sometimes includes photos of their family, etc. Sellers then sometimes will choose buyers based on the people they quote like the best. And so this can be an issue of concern for communities of color and certainly for LGBTQ families. So this comes to us from the real estate industry, who wants to make sure that they're holding up the highest fair housing standards. That's maybe I mentioned that House Bill 2059. Companion to Randall's HIV medication access bill just dropped. That is House Bill 2079. Representative Rude is the lead sponsor on that bill. We expect the Randall bill to be the vehicle, but we have the House one as well to signal kind of the priority on that bill. And then I think that's it. I've been doing a lot of work on the operating budget. And so if there are issues around budget provisos that members of the commission are involved with, feel free to reach out to me, and I'm glad to just make sure that I'm tracking those and bringing them to the LGBTQ caucus as well.
Thank you so much, Representative. This is perfect because we're moving into our discussion of legislative priorities. Also, it is, as somebody noted just now, it's good to see that one of our other advisors, Representative Rude, is getting involved. Yeah. All right. We do have time now for our legislative priorities and bills to watch section, and pass that to our executive director.
Thank you, Co-Chair Butzer. Tracy, when you're ready, if you can share the screen with the list. Okay, folk, I wanted to make sure that we understand what the process is for this part of the meeting, and to clarify some language that we use in the executive and the legislative branches, so people are clear on what is what. So what we want, Tracy and I, the agency, what we want is for the commission to look at the bills that we submitted to you. We sent out a printout to all of you, and we have been adding as we learn of more bills of concern. Now, this list of bills includes bills that will directly impact our community. Some will directly impact our community for the better, some not so much. Other bills on this list have something within the bill that will impact our community, but the bill itself wasn't written only to address only LGBTQ concerns. But within what the bill is looking to do, the community will be impacted in some way or another. So that's kind of the second category. The first one is bills that will be, that were written with the LGBTQ community in mind, because it's the community that will be affected the most. And then the second tier is bills that will be impacting our community just because we are part of other communities that these bills will impact. And then there's the third category of bills, which are bills that are of great concern to the community because of the damage that they may cause to our community. Now, because of how the legislative process works, some of these bills, especially the ones of concern, might never get to the floor for a vote. They might get to committee for discussion and then stay there. What we want you to do with this list right now, and we will have a little bit of discussion too, but what we want you to do right now is to give Tracy and I your authorization as a commission, not only to continue monitoring these bills, but also to take appropriate action when necessary. So let's say that we want to bring the LGBTQ perspective through public hearing or written testimony. We would like to have the vote today to authorize us to take action, because that will give us just another tool to let the committees and the legislators know it's not just Manny and Tracy, is the LGBTQ Commission as an entity is bringing up these concerns or is supporting this bill because it'll impact our community this way. So that's what we are asking you to do. The other thing that I wanted to clarify, also because there's a little bit of confusion, and this is completely understandable, given that only a very, very slim number of people from the 7-point-something population serve in the legislature. Not everybody is aware of the different words and what they mean, right? So there are two things that the commission has been involved with. One is legislation, the bills that the legislature passes, and the other one is provisos that we have written or helped write to address certain things. A proviso, and this is for everybody who's listening, a proviso is just an appropriations, in our case, it's an appropriation of money to conduct something or to fund something. Sometimes what they fund is something concrete, like we have helped in passing or in keeping a proviso that granted money or appropriated monies for a housing project in Seattle, for instance. That's a physical thing that a proviso appropriated monies for. Right now, we are asking, as part of the governor's budget, we are actually worked on two provisos, but the one that we have been more directly involved with is the proviso to set up a task force to study the issue of decriminalization of sex work in the state of Washington. This is not a bill. This is not, a recommendation that that Washington decriminalizes sex work. Although decriminalization of sex work as a theme is an issue that the commission has voted as a priority to work on, the next step that we took was, let's appropriate some monies and have the commission lead a conversation and a study on what the models of decriminalization are that exist out there, what models might be best for Washington if Washington moves to decriminalize. So what we are doing is not replacing the work of the community or replacing the work of grassroots organizers. What we are doing is requesting money as a commission to set up a study group, a task force that is going to study the issue. So we have some lay work, some groundwork for when the community is ready to come to the legislature with their clear and concise plans on decriminalization if they want to. And it can be next year, it can be 10 years from now, but we want to do some of the work on gathering information, gathering stories, gathering any data that we can gather to help both the executive branch and the legislative branch address this issue in a more professional way and in a more holistic way. So that's what a proviso is. We are not we don't have a bill to decriminalize. That's the point. And I know that many community members have reached out to us with a question about that and why we didn't include them in the conversation. No, because there has been no concrete conversation yet. We have a proviso that is going to provide for the space for the community to have a voice on what ideas on decriminalization exists out there and what models, what would be more appropriate and whatnot. So we are very early in that process, and that's what the proviso is going to be doing. So we're not replacing the community's work. We're not, discrediting the work of grassroots organizers. We are not trying to take over their work. We are doing our part in providing one tool through a proviso that will set up this task force. So you will not see that proviso on the list of bills because there's no bill to do that. The bill that includes that proviso is the bill that contains the governor's budget. The other two provisos that we are monitoring that I helped put together from the commission were in collaboration with the Office of Insurance Commissioner and the Healthcare Authority. And that proviso, or those two provisos that we work with them in putting together as part of the governor's budget, is to fund a study also, to fund a study on asking insurance plans in Washington to provide coverage for certain infertility treatments. And what that proviso is going to do is to fund that study to then give concrete recommendations on what type of infertility treatments would be appropriate to cover. Now, I also want to say with that is part of the governor's budget, but there's also a bill that you will see, because as we in the executive were working on that proviso, the legislature was also independently on their side working on legislation to do that. So right now we have two different tools to address the same thing. We are going to see which one is going to be adopted by the legislature. It could be that they decide to fund the study and then not continue with the bill. It might be that they want to do the bill and approve the bill so we can remove the proviso from the budget. It's a tool. So please don't be discouraged if you hear, well, this didn't pass this way or whatnot. In that regard, for the infertility treatments, there are two tools that we're currently using. We're going to see what the legislature feels like is more appropriate according to the information that they have. So, but we're monitoring both. We're monitoring the budget that contains that proviso, as well as the bill that you will see included in this list. So with that, I'm open to answer any questions. We will not have the opportunity to go bill by bill, just because the list is very large. And as of right now, there might be some of them that are no longer part of the agenda for consideration that we haven't checked today. But we wanted to get your vote as a commission to authorize Tracy and I to act on this list and any other bills that might be added, to add according to to the values and the mission of the commission. So that's kind of the summary. I am happy to answer any questions, any clarifying questions before we move on to adopting this list and authorizing the staff to move on them. But I also want to make sure that we clarify any question before we take a vote on this. So your questions.
I see that Commissioner Landers has a question.
Manny, this list is fantastic. I really like it. You've done a great job on this. Is this the time you would like a suggestion for any potential other bills to consider, or would you like that at a later point?
Yes, that would be excellent. And just, I don't want to take the credit because the list was put together by Tracy, and she's the one that is like right there every morning checking where things are and then updating me on the information. So Tracy, thank you so much. And yes, Matt, this would be the time for you for any of you, by the way, to give us any extra bills. Like we have already heard 2059, 2079, which is the companion bill, and 1971. So those are being added as well. And then any other thing that commissioners bring. So yes.
So yeah, the only suggestion I have is to look at House Bill 1312 from Representative Peterson, and that's addressing the use of solitary confinement. And as we know, that is a practice which disproportionately impacts incarcerated trans people for many reasons. But so I think that's one thing the commission should be looking at.
Thank you.
I concur with that. If I could just throw that in there, and in large part because when I read that bill, and things change all the time, but the last time I read it, it did have an allowance for inmates to ask for solitary confinement if that was what they wanted. But things change. So, don't hold me to that, but that has been something that we have seen trans inmates asking for in the past in other areas around the country. So I was glad to see that as allowed in there.
Thank you.
Thank you. And after we've asked our questions and we feel comfortable, we entertain a motion to accept this list and approve.
With the added bills that were mentioned today.
Yes, indeed, with those added.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Meyer. Is there a second?
Second, Commissioner Landers.
Thank you, Commissioner Landers. Is there any further discussion? All right, staff, if we could do a roll call, aye or nay on this bill, please. I mean no, not on this bill. No, on this list.
Thank you. Commissioner Best,
Aye.
Commissioner Erickson,
Aye.
Commissioner Frederickson Goldson, Commissioner Hillmeyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Landers,
Aye.
Commissioner Maroon,
Aye.
Commissioner Molina,
Aye.
Commissioner Ross,
Aye.
Secretary Figueroa,
Aye.
Vice Chair Kelly Baroga,
Aye.
Co-Chair Botzer.
Aye. Thank you. Our motion passes. So we have the list. Thank you, everybody.
This is Sawyer. We skipped me.
Oh my goodness sakes.
And
I'm
Sojourn.
I am so sorry. Commissioner Sawyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Sojourner.
Aye.
Oh goodness. Apologies. And we'll vet our own list. All right. Now at this point, we are scheduled to take a break, a 10-minute break. And then after that, we'll come back to do some breakout sessions where we'll form two groups and talk about the committee survey that we did and ideas for the committee. And after that, we'll have a plenary session that will allow us to consider some changes. So 10-minute break, please. That would be just about 4 minutes past. Thank you.
Quick reminder that we continue live streaming. So please turn off your cameras, turn off your mics. Just keep in mind that we are live streaming.
All right, welcome back. Hope you had a couple of moments to relax a little bit there, think about the meeting and so on. All right, next step for us today will be breakout discussions. So once again, the plan is to break into two groups. We'll have an executive member and perhaps a staff member also in each group, so that we can discuss among ourselves what we learned from the results of our survey that everyone took, and also just to talk openly with each other about ideas to improve our committees. So staff, do you have the breakout groups prepared for us?
I do. I have not assigned people to specific groups. So everybody will, but I can go ahead and get it set up randomly right now. Give me just one moment.
Thank you. Yes, let's just divide our members up into two. Let's see, how many do we have now? Still with us? All right. If you could divide those, please. All right, so we're being invited. Go ahead and join one of the groups, and then we can talk more about what's happening and our ideas. Thank you. This looks quite familiar. There we go.
Conversation was so good and it was cut off.
Welcome back, everyone. I think many of you were saying a good conversation. I certainly agree. Great conversation in the group. We're scheduled now to take a little break, and that's another 10-minute break. And then we'll come back and have a general discussion about the things that we were just talking about. Thank you. 10 minutes.
Reminder that we continue live streaming, so please be cautious with your mic and your camera. So keep that in mind.
We're all coming back together. Very good. All right, friends. We're back in action after our break. Good conversations all around, lots of ideas. The concept now for our remaining time, and we have enough for a good further conversation, is to share with each other what we were discussing in our breakout groups. And especially if anyone had hit on something that could be formed into a motion around committees. We did not find one in our group at this point, thinking perhaps we need more conversation. But if you did, please mention it. So I'm hoping that this can be an all folks on board discussion rather than just the leads. Oh, and the other group was led by Commissioner Kelly Baroga. I'm telling the folks that were in mine. But if I am hoping that we will all bring our ideas forward. There was so many ideas. So let us begin, and I see a hand up from Commissioner Sawyer.
Hello, thank you. I would like to make a motion that we allow the staff to, or give the staff permission to create an onboarding process, particularly for new commissioners as they join commissions, and also expanding that to creating some general rules, I guess, for running the commission. And particularly, I think we already have two commissioners, have a rule for two commissioners, but I think that needs to be incorporated as well.
Thank you. Is there a second for this motion? And then we may need some discussion to clarify.
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Ross. Let's see. Would you mind stating it again so that we're really clear? And then maybe this is a discussion point on the motion so we can talk about the ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm proposing that we give staff leeway to create an onboarding process for new commissioners and assigning them to committees, but also creating some processes for running those committees.
Co-Chair Butzer, I can give a little bit of background for Commissioner Sawyer's motion. As we enter into the discussion part, one of the points of discussion at our small breakout session was that currently we, the staff, don't have any directive, any framework on how to onboard commissioners when it relates to the work on committees. So one of the, as we were discussing how new commissioners are invited to be part of the committees and things like that, I share with the group that we don't have any actual processes, and I encourage well, the participants to present the motion. And the idea is that we could create something that then is brought back to the commission for discussion and adoption as an internal guide on how to onboard commissioners, and something that actually creates a process to assign new commissioners to different committees. And in addition to that, we also discovered that and not discovered, but affirm the fact that we haven't been following our internal operating agreements that state that 2 commissioners should be part of each committee. So regardless of how many committees the commission has, each committee should have 2 commissioners participating. So those are some of the background conversations to this motion. And I see that Commissioner KB has their hand up too.
Yes, thank you for that clarification and recognizing Commissioner Kelly Brewer.
I also wanted to suggest maybe including a part where like a process for commissioners to also join other committees or maybe excuse themselves from one committee and not only limiting just new commissioners.
Thank you. Thank you. These ideas sound familiar to the other group. Is there any other discussion on this motion?
Commissioner Sojourner has their hand up.
Thank you.
Yes, go ahead.
So I love this thought and process. I almost feel like there's a piece that maybe needs to navigate and happen before. And that's, I feel like the metaphor, like we need to clean the house before we can get to the onboarding process, before we can welcome people on. And so maybe that's a smaller group that can really look at our committee structure, the needs, all of that, a deeper intentional dive into really looking at what it could be, what does that look like, process, procedures, with the openness for inclusionary and equitable practices within each committee so they can function how they need to function, but still has somewhat of a skeleton to follow. And then I think we can get to this place of talking about procedures and onboarding and what does that look like, and cross-pollination of the committees moving forward. So I feel like there might be, through my lens as a brand new person, joining you all, it just feels like there maybe is a step before the onboarding.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Tracy and staff.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to bring up one of the things that was in our discussion group that I'm going to be working on is sending out the invitation to committees to all commissioners, so that if somebody wants to attend a committee that they don't normally go to, or maybe executive committee wants to check in with different committees, that everybody have access to them all just for that purpose.
Thank you. I have a question. Does the maker of the motion feel that all these things that we just described fit under part of that motion around policy, or I'm wondering if we need another motion?
Probably so. But from my perspective, when I said kind of running and creating some processes, I think for me that includes that, and allowing the staff to maybe to build a framework for us to then come back and look at and vote on. But I think I heard some idea of creating a work group to study that. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that could be an option to create a smaller work group. It could be a number of things. There's like a early piece missing. I love this onboarding. I believe in onboarding. That's how we get people to stay. And it just feels like there's something else missing beforehand. So it could be a small group to help the staff with creating that, and we bring it to the larger group. It could look like a billion things right now, but there is something else there.
So I think with that said, I would adjust my motion to allow both the staff and the executive committee to come together and build a framework for not only onboarding to our new commissioners to committees, but also creating a process for committees to be brought back to the larger group for review and vote.
Can I ask a clarifying question to, well, both Commissioner Sojourner and Sawyer?
Well, first, does the second approve? Do we still have?
I think that sounds
Make
great.
a friendly amendment, if I could.
Okay, and then we will go to executive director. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would like to amend the motion to set up an ad hoc committee like we did for election process revision, to specifically look at this issue and be able to report back in 2 meetings time. You know, maybe there are other commissioners who'd like to be involved, and we shouldn't just put it on the executive committee.
Thank you. Commissioner Sawyer, do you accept that friendly amendment?
Yes. Yes.
And second?
Yes.
And let's see, I believe our executive director is next.
Thank you, Co-Chair. I actually think that my concern or questions were addressed by Commissioner Maroon's amendment. But what I want to clarify for everybody, not only the commissioners here, but also the public that is watching, the idea would be to have an ad hoc committee that would look into these processes and the structure of the committees, so we can have and that ad hoc group would include staff and members of the executive committee. And then we will bring concrete recommendations on restructuring in 4 months, which would be 2 meetings time. Is that? I just wanted to make sure that all the motions and all that actually that I am following. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I think we have a motion now, and still any other discussion on this motion? And can we have it stated again? Staff, did you get that? And can we have that stated again? Then we'll vote.
I will do the best I can on this. So a motion by Commissioner Sawyer to give staff leeway for onboarding policy for new commissioners and assigning them to committees, and a ad hoc committee for discussing structure and processes for committees. And that was seconded by Commissioner Ross, and of course the friendly amendment that I added in the wording for.
All right, if we're ready to vote, it will be
okay.
Roll call and A or nay, and we'll catch everyone. All right, let's go ahead.
Commissioner Best.
Aye.
Commissioner Erickson.
Aye.
Commissioner Hillmeyer.
Aye.
Commissioner Landers.
Aye.
Commissioner Maroon.
Aye.
Commissioner Molina.
Aye.
Commissioner Ross.
Aye.
Commissioner Sawyer.
Aye.
Commissioner Sojourner.
Aye.
Vice Chair Kelly Baroga.
Aye.
Co-Chair Botzer.
Aye.
And did I miss anyone? Okay.
All right, thank you very much. The motion passes. At this point, we are still in discussion about our committees and can go further. There were lots of good ideas. So the floor is open for any commissioner to speak about our committee.
Can I be staff too?
Staff too. We are so generous, man. Yes, indeed, staff too.
Thank you, Madam Co-Chair. So given the fact that we have an ad hoc committee made up of staff, executive members, and we will actually need to identify commissioners as well to be part of that, which, Madam Co-Chair, we can do later on during this discussion. But given that, it just occurred to me that perhaps, and this is for you all as commissioners to discuss now, but perhaps it would be best if we keep the committees that have been regularly meeting and keep that as it's going, because they are meeting and they are doing some work. and then put a pause on the committees that haven't been able to meet, and just, not that we're eliminating them because we don't know what is going to happen with them, but just to make clear that we are not expecting the committees that have not been able to meet between now and the time that we have a concrete plan. So I just feel like we need some reassuring to the commissioners that we are going to be working on something more concrete, that we know that there have been some challenges in meeting and finding time, and we shouldn't put, I feel like we shouldn't put pressure on commissioners to try to find time now just because we had the conversation when we don't really have a concrete plan on how we want to use a structure that includes committees. So I don't know, that's my feel as a staff member. And I just wanted to bring it up to you as you're discussing, next steps, and as you have taken a concrete action on creating something to address that. So I'll just put it out there for you, Madam Co-Chair, to decide if you want to have that discussion, or yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes. Well, is there any thought or any objection to following that process just described? I think I see no hands, no comments. I think we're on board with that idea. Now yes. Did somebody speak?
I just unmuted. I was just wondering if we needed a motion. Committee. I don't know.
Well, let's see. I don't think we need a motion for that suggestion. No, I don't think we do for that suggestion. What we would need is a motion or a discussion and a motion to select individuals to be on this process. Are we ready to consider that? Good. Good. Is there anyone present here today who is just so excited to get onto this committee that they can barely stand it and want to step forward? Oh, yes.
I'll be the first. I'll volunteer to be.
Thank you, Commissioner Sawyer. Thank you very much. And I see Commissioner Sojourner's got their hand up. Yes.
Yep.
Good.
Yes, I will volunteer as well.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Well, I think.
If I may just add that, the last time we did an ad hoc committee, we got a couple people volunteering during a meeting like this, but then the staff followed up with an email to commissioners and offered them another opportunity, and a couple more people came on at that point. So this doesn't have to be the only time you can decide about this.
That's an excellent point, an excellent suggestion. We can hold with that. There's no rush to form anything too solid at the moment. All right, excellent ideas. So we are now at just afternoon. We can open the floor to further discussion. We can also open the floor at this point to good of the order issues from any commissioner. So first, let's see, further discussion on the topic of committees. Anybody? Staff included, definitely.
I don't know how my group feels, but I can give a quick rundown of some of the key issues that we brought forth, and just to keep people aware of, the general things that we talked about. Would that be okay, Madam Co-Chair?
Yes, that is.
And we did address some of these already, but excuse me, some of the concerns that were brought forth was a little bit of disconnect between the work of the executive committee and the work of the committees and the work the commission as a whole, and the few opportunities that we have to share details about, you know, what the different committees do, including the work of the executive committee. So that is something that I believe that we can address through, by the way, through some processes and things like that, once that we restructure how committees are made up. Someone did mention the fact that perhaps requiring that executive committee members don't participate of committee work, that hinders that communication, in addition of having to move into a virtual world where you know, opportunities for organic communication are, well, hindered as well. So those were some of the challenges that were presented. The other thing that I found very interesting and very powerful was that there's no time during the reporting process to engage in conversation. That is more about offering updates, and we don't have the chance to actually engage in conversation to gather more feedback and ideas and things like that. And perhaps that's something that cannot be done in a public meeting, but perhaps there's a way that we can find to get feedback and to engage more commissioners in conversations about committees where they don't serve, but might have some ideas on how to address things. And then the final thing, let me see. Oh yeah, and the final thing was the processes, and that's just acknowledging from my own part that sometimes, because the kind of the process that we've had is for community members to check in with me before being assigned to a committee, and sometimes I haven't followed through because, well, life, or, you know, there are some other processes that haven't been followed, like having 2 committee members on each committee, commission members on each committee, and things like that. So just recognizing, you know, where the flaws are so we can address them and amend and move forward. So those were kind of the main things that we shared. And Commissioner KB was on my group, and they have their hand raised.
Yes, go ahead, please.
I have a question. Do we have a mechanism where we can, because I know earlier Tracy mentioned that we are going to try to send out the invites to each committee to all the commissioners. Do we have a mechanism to also share out the notes to everyone for transparency reasons, but also so people know what is happening during? Obviously, it's not going to be as detailed, but it's at least, like, I don't know if it's a simple notes, just like our notes from a previous meeting. Is there a mechanism where we can do that already, or is it something we can do in the future?
Yes, recognizing Tracy.
To answer that, I would say one of the best ways we can do that is through Google Docs. If the minutes for meetings are made available for everybody to look at, if they so choose to, that way everybody knows when the meetings are, and they can look maybe the next day and see, or anytime after the next day, to see what's there.
Commissioner Landers?
When it comes to the notes from the meetings, are the regular committee reports not supposed to be that exact report back to the group? Or KB, were you looking for something more detailed than the committee reports, which I know have been harder to come by as the committees have been trying to figure out how to work, but theoretically is that the kind of information you are looking for, or are you looking for something deeper?
I guess my train of thought was if it was the minutes, people would have time to look and read through them before the reports and at the reports. I don't like, and in that piece, if it is a venue that we can talk about it and have dialogue at the meeting, or because the report only happens at the public meeting. So if we had notes that went out to people, it doesn't even have to be a grand meeting. It's just notes shared, and people may choose to read them and can have conversations beforehand before the report. So the report isn't the first time that we're hearing about something.
Any other comments? Any other members of the two groups care to speak about what was said, just for the good of us all at this point?
I would like to echo that I think sharing out minutes could be an effective way to keep people a little bit more engaged. I was mentioning in our discussion as well that the report backs from committees tend to be fairly short and not with any time for discussion, and ways that we can give more opportunity for other commissioners to follow and engage in work of committees they're not on. I think that sounds great.
See many nodding heads on that one.
And if you would like, Commissioner Botzer, I can report on what I took notes on that we haven't already covered from our breakout.
That would be very good indeed. Please go ahead.
Okay, so there was mention of conversation about maybe having some one-on-one meetings occasionally with staff and commissioners. Having executive committee randomly attend meetings to check in, to wanting to build more relationships and accountability. Wanting some way to maybe have some professional development, such as maybe a mock training on how to run a committee, possibly help commissioners learn how to set goals, objectives, key performance indicators, just running a meeting in general. And then we mentioned already the updates on what committees are doing. And discuss whether or not some committees should be sunsetted and maybe merged into others because of their intersectionality. Having the co-chair of a committee be one commissioner and one member of the public, maybe to allow the public to develop leadership there as well, and adding committee invites to the weekly blasts that the staff is putting out, so that not only do the commissioners know when they are, but so do the public.
Excellent recap. Thank you. Any other comments?
Thank you for giving me ideas for the weekly blast for next week. Yes, we have content now.
Well, maybe we can finish up this section. I just want to note that a couple of the folks in the group I was in noted that taking good care of ourselves, giving ourselves space, and understanding that we don't have to be sort of perfect, or I don't remember exactly the words, but the message was to take care of ourselves. If any of the others want to correct me with better words, I'd appreciate it. But that was a good message that I took away. Okay, well, we're coming to the end of the meeting, but there's always time for announcements, good of the order announcements from any commissioner. And let's take a moment. If there's something going on that you feel the other commissioners should know about, staff should know about, whatever it may be, this would be the time to make an announcement. Yes, Commissioner Maroon.
Well, I did get an email the other day from Alphonse Littlejohn. Some of you may know them. They are a trans attorney, and they've done a few legal clinics. So there may be another legal clinic coming up the end of this month. If people, and I think that the intention is not to put it onto social media, but if folks know anyone who needs help with any trans-related legal issue, let me know, and I'd be happy to forward the flyer out to you.
Mhm.
It is
Thank you.
for Tuesday, I think, Tuesday next week.
Thank you.
Commissioner Maroon, would that be something that we can add to the weekly blast, or is that not?
Please share this announcement and graphic with your transgender and gender diverse constituents, communities, support groups, friends, and loved ones directly. Please do not share on social media.
So it might not be the best way. Okay, thank you.
Who else has something for us?
I have a couple of things in terms of announcements and reminders. One is, if you do have things that we can add to the weekly blast, do send them to us. We want to make sure that the community is aware of opportunities, and that includes, even regional things. If it's an agency that that is putting together something that might be of interest to a large number of people that can be reached through our weekly bulletin, do send it to Tracy or me. We both work on the content, so feel free to send to either one of us. We put together the draft on Fridays, so we can be ready to send on Monday. The other thing is that there's a couple of public hearings related to rulemaking. Rulemaking is different than legislation. Rulemaking is when legislation is implemented. I mean, there are other ways to do rulemaking, but usually when legislation is implemented, and one of them, Commissioner Maroon mentioned about the implementation of decriminalization of HIV. Well, yeah, decriminalization of HIV. So it is super important that if you see that there's an opportunity for the public to engage in rulemaking processes, that you share that information, because one of the reasons of having the commission is to make sure that the LGBTQ voice is in those processes. And it's not just leaders of agencies, is everyone who is going to be impacted by those rulemaking processes. So with that, there's also the Healthy Youth Survey. We included that on the weekly blast, and that's super important because we want to make sure that the voice of LGBTQ youth is included in that survey. And they have been doing a great job. The Department of Health, who is the one that puts together the survey, they have been doing a great job trying to be as connected to the voice of the LGBTQ youth as possible, but we want to make sure that we continue bringing that voice forward. And then the final thing is the Say Out Loud conference that is coming up now in March. And I have sent this out a couple of times requesting if anyone wants to do a short video about what family means to you. That would be fantastic. And we're looking for different family structures, different languages, even family in all sorts of ways that we queer folk have created and nurtured family. So it would be great if we have a couple of voices from the commission who say, this is what family means to me. It doesn't have to be a long video, but if you are interested, get in touch with me so I can put you in touch with the person that is collecting the videos. Yeah. And again, if you have things that are coming up, send them to us so we can post it on the weekly blast. And I see that Commissioner Best has his hand up.
Please go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to recognize Manny for bringing up at the beginning of the meeting about the Stolen Tribes land recognition and recognizing that. And I'm a tribal member from the Caldwell tribe, so I really appreciate the commission bringing that issue forward and having people recognize that the lands in Washington State are stolen from the tribal people. And I just wanted to put a shout out to, there's the Met Health Conservatory group in my area that fights for tribes to get their land back, and they raise funding for to purchase land and give it back to the tribe. And in the last couple of months, our tribe has received over 1,500 acres in prime real estate areas to protect the rivers and streams for the tribal people, for medicine, roots, gathering, and medicinal purposes for a healthy life. And but I just wanted to put that out there. There's a lot of individuals out there helping tribes to get their stolen land back. And I just wanted to put that out there, and I appreciate the LGBT Commission and recognizing that. And thank you, Manny, for putting that out there.
And thank you, Commissioner Best. Thank you so much. Anyone else? I know that this is so much fun and you enjoying this meeting no end. And it's hard to even consider this, but it is time for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Commissioner Best.
Thank you, Commissioner Best. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Sojourner. Sorry, apologies. And now, roll call, please, by staff. Aye and nay.
Okay, Commissioner Best,
Aye.
Commissioner Erickson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hillmeyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Landers,
Aye.
Commissioner Maroon,
Aye.
Commissioner Molina,
Aye.
Commissioner Ross,
Aye.
Commissioner Sawyer,
Aye.
Commissioner Sojourner,
Aye.
Vice Chair Kelly Baroga,
Aye.
Co-Chair Botzer,
Aye.
and I believe that's everyone. Did I miss anyone?
All right. Thank you all very much. We are formally adjourned. And thank you again.
Okay, and I am stopping the recording in just one moment.
Thanks all.
Bye, everybody.
Everybody. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too. All right.
Not seem to do it.
Tracy is still streaming. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having trouble finding the stop button. Just.